Hi, welcome back, and welcome new people. I am Ray of Sunshine for those of you who do not know, or Sunny Ray. A, this will be the seventh chapter of ShutterBug by Iriley, being done for the Podficker's Baton. Most of you probably came from chapter 6, which was done by Marzi, and chapter 8 will be done by Jem. I will have the playlist linked at the end of this video, and I will maybe come back and link the next chapter as well. Peter wakes with a start, panting as he springs up on the couch, making his bed shift, as he remembers parts of his nightmare, or rather, his memories. The rumbling of the building underneath his feet, the sounds of sirens coming towards him, the sounds of his aunt as she tried to breathe, tried to talk to him. Then, the sound of laughter, an evil thing, high-pitched and loud, mocking. Peter had wanted it gone, had tried to get rid of it, but someone had stopped him, another version of himself. If it wasn't for the other Peter, would he have stopped? Before he can form an answer to that thought, Peter shakes his head and stands up from the couch. Pulling out a pair of clean clothes, Peter sets them on his makeshift bed before grabbing his towel and making his way towards the bathroom. Turning on the water, Peter sets the towel on the closed toilet seat. Once hot enough, Peter steps in, letting himself run on autopilot as he thinks of what he has to do that day. Swing by the library and looking into scholarships and schools. Grab something to eat too, he thinks, as he rinses the shampoo from his hair. Starting to work the conditioner into his hair, Peter thinks about his upcoming job, and if he should go looking for a way to fill time between shoots. With that thought, though, he's reminded of Spider-Man. Gotham has its own team of vigilantes, so I don't know if they need Spider-Man to help, but I suppose it wouldn't hurt to try, he thinks with a determined smile. Once the conditioner is out of his hair and the body wash is rinsed off, Peter grabs his towel, drying off and getting dressed as he moves to grab his things before leaving. A short ride to the library later, and Peter is waving at Barbara, Babs, before going to the computers to start a search. Apply to scholarships now, ad. Top 10 schools in Gotham with scholarships. How do I apply to college? Ignoring the ad and random how-to sites, Peter clicks onto the top schools to apply to. Gotham Prep is the top school in Gotham, with its state-of-the-art labs and facilities. Gotham Prep is the best school to go to. It's proud to have Bruce Wayne as an alumnus and sponsor. Well, Mr. Wayne has multiple scholarships for applicants. The one most sought after is the Penny Award that not only covers the full tuition cost, but also food, books, and dorm expenses on or off campus. To apply, students will have to take an exam. Only a select few are awarded this scholarship each year. Apply below and check out the study guide. Below read the other 9 schools and the scholarships they offered. After applying for the scholarships below, Peter decides to apply for the Penny Award as well. Seeing the next test date is the day after the next, Peter opens a new tab to load the study guide, only stopping to realize he doesn't have a notebook or a pen. Glancing up, Peter sees Barbara still at the front desk. Giving a quick glance at his screen, he stands before making his way over to her. Hey, sorry to bother you, but do you have any spare notebooks or a pen? Or a pencil, whatever's fine, Peter says, getting a small laugh from Barbara, who nods. Sure do, just give me 1 sec. I'll go and grab them. With that, she moves through a door behind her into what Peter suspects is a supply closet. Looking at the desk in front of him, Peter spots a few pamphlets fanned out in a display. Gotham Library! Food shelters available. Local vigilantes. And Gotham Rogue Gallery! Watch out! Peter grabs the vigilante one as well as the rogue one as Barbara moves back to the desk. Here we go, she says and places the notebook and pack of pens in the desk. Noting the pamphlet, she smiles. You can take those, that's why it's there. Nodding, Peter sets them on top of the offered supplies before sliding it off the desk. Smiling, Peter nods and thanks her before excusing himself back to the computer. Glad his spot hadn't gotten taken while he was away, Peter sits down and starts working on the study guide. He'd passed this test. He'd had to. Sighing into the phone, Barbara repeated herself. I did the pamphlet thing, Tim. He grabbed the vigilante one and the rogue one. Listening to Tim talk and ask questions about Peter, Barbara thinks she should have texted the group chat that he was at the library. No, Tim, he's sitting at the computer taking notes. Can I see what he's taking notes on? Who do you think I am? She's almost offended as she pulls up the screen monitoring function on her desktop. He's just studying for the exam at Gotham Prep, she says, watching as Peter scrolls down a line of math problems. Ew, math, she thinks. Hearing Tim start to mumble about theories and how I'll be able to get info if we're in the same classes, she decides to end the call with a, yeah, sure, bye, before putting her phone on the desk. Clicking the screen monitoring off, she goes back to working on her emails. Logging out of the computer, Peter stands, letting his back pop as he stretches his arms over his head. Looking over, he can see Barbara typing on her keyboard. Walking towards the door, Peter gives a small wave, when she returns, and continues out. Looking around, Peter spots a sign for an office supplies store down the road. Walking down the street, Peter lets his eyes wander to the other buildings and signs. Hardwood, Taylor, ooh, bakery, he thinks as he walks past a white-painted building. Small flowers painted along the windows and doors. Distracted, Peter runs into a wall. No, a person. I shouldn't be running into people. My spider senses need to tune in. Taking a step back, Peter spots a dog next to a pair of black heavy combat boots. Grinning, Peter kneels down and sticks his hand out, letting the dog sniff his hand. Getting a slobbery lick, the dog shoves their head into Peter's hand. Petting the dog, Peter looks up, remembering he hasn't apologized for bumping into them. Sorry, about that. I wasn't... Jason? Blinking, the wall, aka Jason, looks down at Peter. Hello? Jason? Moving to stand, Peter gets tackled by the dog, who's upset that Peter stopped petting him. Only then does Jason seem to snap out of it, pulling on the dog's collar, the dog not having a leash, letting Peter stand. Sorry, was lost in thought, didn't expect to see you. Turning his attention to the dog trying to wiggle out of their collar and jump onto Peter again. Dog, sit! Pausing, Peter looks at the dog, then Jason. Is their name Dog? Getting a hesitant nod, Peter can't help but laugh, making Jason blush from embarrassment, or from Peter, he couldn't say. I'm not good at naming things, Jason says, rubbing the back of his neck. Dog, finding the perfect opportunity, fully jumps onto Peter. Dog, wait! Jason calls as he moves to catch Peter, stopping when he realizes Peter doesn't need help. In fact, Peter seems to be holding Dog as if they weigh next to nothing. You got her? Nodding, Peter adjusts his grip on Dog so he's not pulling at any of her fur. She's, used to jumping on me at home. Normally she doesn't go this far. Jason continues. Setting Dog down, Peter continues to pet her. So what are you doing down this way? Peter asks. Jason pauses for a moment, blushes, then shakes his head. I was just taking her out for a walk. I live a few blocks over. Nodding, Peter looks back towards the cafe. Glancing at it, Peter asks, do you want to get a drink? My treat. Dog's head perks up at treat, but doesn't move from Peter's hands. Sure, I have some time, Jason says, calling Dog to follow as he moves to the cafe, Peter following behind him. Once inside, Peter can see the white interior, small paintings lining the walls and baseboards. Looking at the display case by the register, Peter moves to stand in line. Jason's standing by him as Dog sits by Jason. It's a short wait as they're quickly called up next. Looking at the display, Peter orders a muffin and a coffee, glancing at Jason when he starts to order. Peter grabs his wallet and pulls out his card to pay when Jason hands over his card to the barista. I got it. Seeing Peter start to say something, he continues. You got the next one? He said it as a question, but he mostly said it so Peter wouldn't try and give him any money. Squinting, Peter gives a slow nod before grabbing his now ready coffee and Jason's iced something. Walking over to a nearby seat, Peter sets the drinks down, sitting in his, watching as Jason does the same. What about you? What are you doing this way? Jason asks. Applying for schools and scholarships at the library. Yeah, how'd it go? Smiling, Peter tells Jason about how he had to fill out a bunch of paperwork repeatedly, and now he's been studying for the upcoming exam. Sounds boring. Smirking, Jason grabs his now empty cup before holding his hand out for Peter's. Peter, having finished his drink quickly, gives it up with a quick, thank you. It's not too bad. I like the challenge. Peter smiles as he stands to follow Jason, Dog following soon after, as they make their way out. Once out, they start to walk a bit when Jason asks where Peter was heading now. I gotta stop at the office store and then I'll be on my way home. He says, glancing at the time. It's almost sunset. A quick glance at the sky confirmed the thought. Seeing Peter check the time, Jason starts to turn before talking. I'll let you get to it. Gotta get her back home for dinner. I'll see you around, though? Getting a smile and nod from Peter, Jason starts his journey home. Turning himself, Peter starts his trek to the office store before heading home. Once around the corner, Jason dips into an alleyway, squatting near a wall, as he's drawn into his thoughts with a blush, covering his face with his hands as Dog lays in front of him. I can't believe I actually came all the way here. Barbara just had to say that Peter was at the library, right when Dog needed to go out. As Jason reeled about walking so far, on accident, just to possibly run into Peter. Flushing again, Jason hears his phone ring, sighing as he pulls out and answers the device. Yeah. There's a short pause before the person on the other end speaks. Yeah, I'll head over now. See you in a bit. Hanging up, Jason looks over at Dog before he continues. Let's get you home. Got the long shift tonight. Standing up, Jason brushes himself off before starting off again, Dog following close behind. Once back home, Peter sets his new notebooks, pens, pencils, highlighters, and folders into his new messenger bag. Sitting down on the couch, Peter starts to review the notes from earlier. The next morning. Blinking awake, Peter looks down at his notebook, about to fall off his lap. Grabbing it and setting it to the side, he realized he'd stayed up studying, falling asleep while doing so. Hearing the sound of his stomach, he also realizes he missed dinner. Glancing at the time, Peter resigns himself to eating lunch for breakfast. Standing up, Peter quickly changes before grabbing his wallet and camera. Taking the window out and down, Peter makes his way towards the closest thing. Batburger. Once inside, Peter orders a Robin wrap meal and a Robin meal. Not for the toy. After a short wait, he's sitting at a booth and digging into his meal. As Peter moves into eating the fries, he opens the Robin meal toy. Pulling out a purple and black figure, the card that accompanies the figure says, Spoiler! Pocketing the figure, Peter finishes his fries before grabbing his trash to throw away. Continuing to drink his Joker juice, a limeade type drink that comes out in a bright green color, Peter started to the library to study. Waving at Barbara as he makes his way to the computers to continue studying, taking out the same notebook as yesterday and a pencil, Peter focuses on the math portion first. Looking up when he feels someone coming up to him, Peter sees Barbara. Hey Peter, sorry to stop you while you're so focused, but we're about to close. Looking up at the time, Peter is surprised to see how late it was. Oh, sorry, didn't notice how late it was. He laughs, getting cut off by his stomach, getting a laugh from Barbara, making him blush embarrassed. Would you like to join me for dinner? I'm meeting with my dad at a nearby diner. He's bringing a friend as well, she suggests, standing up as Peter faces her fully. I wouldn't want to be a bother. She shakes her head before turning to the desk, making her way over as she grabs her keys. It's no bother. We'd love the company. In fact, maybe you'll get an actual conversation instead of whatever you call dinner with those two. Despite her teasing tone, she wore a fond smile. Thinking for a moment, Peter gives a small smile and nods. If you're sure. Grinning, Barbara slips her phone out and sends a quick text to who Peter assumes is her father. We're all set if you're ready. Getting a nod from Peter, she moves to the door. Peter moves ahead to open the door for her as she goes through, locking it when Peter follows. Peter follows her to the nearby diner as they walk. How did this happen? Looking up, Peter sees the smiling form of Bruce Wayne sitting directly across from him, giving a nervous smile back as he hears Barbara clear her throat to catch their attention, giving Bruce a slight glare when Peter wasn't looking. Peter, you've met Bruce, but I don't think you've met my dad yet. This is Jim Gordon, the chief of the police at the GCPD, she says before gesturing to the older man in front of her. The man, Jim, gives a nod to Peter as Barbara continues. He was at the gala the other night. Nodding at her words, Peter realized she must have seen his confusion. Where should Peter have met him? I tend to stay on the sides at galas. Not really my scene. He gives a gruff chuckle before he continues. Still, I wanted to be there to welcome Jason back. He's a good kid. Bruce gives a small, almost smile. Bruce turns to Peter to say something, but a waitress comes up to the table. What can I get y'all tonight? As she speaks, she pops her gum, her country accent slipping through her Jersey one, clearing an odd mix. I'll take a coffee, Barbara starts, the waitress writing it down before looking at Jim. I'll take a decaf. I'll have a chocolate shake. She gives a quick but subtle look at Bruce due to his unique drink choice before getting to Peter, who does a quick glance at the drink names again. Apparently, some drink names are actual brands. I'll take an Oracle Orange? She writes it down before disappearing into the back to make the drinks. You fan of the bats? Jim asks. Peter shrugs in response before elaborating. I've met a few of them, and they seem nice. It's hard to say since it was brief. He thinks for a moment before speaking again. I did sit down with the Red Hood the other night, though. He should be fine saying that, right? Right? He gets a few surprised looks from across the table before Bruce speaks, looking concerned. What happened? Ah, Red Hood was was infamous as a crime lord, and for working in Crime Alley. That's what the pamphlet said, at least. Peter didn't think the guy was too bad, so he's probably worried he did something to Peter. Some guys tried to mug me, but Red Hood stopped them. Bought me dinner, too, to replace the one that got ruined during it. Sat with me while we ate, too. Got a picture, too, though I don't think he realized. Trailing off, Peter looks up as the waitress brings their drinks back. Once she's set them down, she asks if they're ready to order, going in the same order they start. I'll have the chicken sandwich with chips. The loaded grilled cheese with the side of fries for me. I'll take the American cheeseburger with fries as well. Can I get the bacon turkey club with chips? Once she has their orders, she's already gone back. With her gone, however, had the attention back onto Peter. Were you hurt at all? Barbara asks with a concerned look. Shaking his head, Peter's attention goes to Bruce as the man drinks from his milkshake. What even is this? Seemingly oblivious to Peter's confusion, Bruce asks Peter about the photo. I actually have the camera if you'd like to see it. Peter trails off, a hand moving to his camera subconsciously. Bruce smiles and nods. Pulling up the image, Peter hands it over to the man. Grabbing it carefully, Bruce looks at the photo with a slight uptick to his lips. Jim leans over to take a look, straightening out as Bruce turns it so that the older man can get a better look. Feeling a light tap on his arm, Peter looks over at Barbara. My dad's known Bruce since he was a kid, kind of like an uncle to him. Peter turns to look at the duo again, and Peter can't help but agree with the idea. Brought out of his thought as a plate is set in front of him, Peter sees their food has arrived. Taking the camera as it was passed back to him, Peter takes a bite of a sandwich. Pleasantly surprised by the quality, Peter missed the knowing smirk of his dining partners. It's quiet for a bit as they all eat. Once about finished, Bruce starts on the picture. It's a great shot, Peter. A bit flustered by the sudden praise, Peter chokes on a fry, quickly grabbing his drink and taking a large gulp. Thank you, Mr. Wayne. Getting a light laugh from the man as Peter uses his napkin to wipe the non-existent liquid from his mouth, when said man begins to speak again. Please, call me Bruce. Nodding, Peter grabs another fry, round 2, when Jim asks him about what his plan for school is and what he wants to do. I actually just applied for a few scholarships and take a test for one tomorrow. I want to go for biophysics and maybe get my master's in biochem. Getting a bit of a shocked and impressed look, Jim then asks about if he's working. Nodding, Peter starts to talk about his photographer job when Barbara fills in for him. That's actually how we all met him. He was at Jason's gala as a photographer. If I heard right, he'll be the one taking pictures this weekend. Blushing a bit at the attention, Peter focuses on what's left of his chips. That's impressive. It's hard to get the entire Wayne & Co. group together, Jim says before eating his fries. The waiter, Peter's salvation at this point, walks up with the check before placing it on the table, more towards Bruce. Peter reaches over and grabs it before the older man could get a chance. He quickly slips his card in before handing it back to the waitress, who hadn't even had the chance to walk away. Blinking in surprise, something that's been happening too much in his opinion, Bruce does his best not to laugh. This kid. Shaking his head, Bruce pulls out a few 20s and places them under the salt shaker. Tip, he says when Peter gives him a confused look. Giving a hesitant nod, Peter drinks what's left of his drink, keeping eye contact with Bruce, who had done the same. Soon enough, the waitress was back and handed the checkbook to Peter to retrieve his card, scribbling his signature and a $20 tip as well for the fast service and time saves from questions. All while, mostly, keeping eye contact with the other man. Setting down the booklet, Peter finally breaks the impromptu staring contest as he checks the time. Gotta run. Big test tomorrow. Thank you for the invite. It was nice to meet you, Mr. Gordon. And it was nice seeing you again, Mr. Bruce. He waves and gives his goodbyes to Barbara before he leaves, the sound of a bell ringing as the door closes. Unable to help himself, Bruce lets his shoulders shake as he covers his laughs. Jim sits beside him laughing as well while Barbara just smiles. He knows you're a billionaire, right? Jim asked him. Nodding, Bruce swirls the straw in his unfinished, now melted, chocolate shake, letting himself catch his breath. Why the milkshake and intense staring contest? Barbara asks. I wanted to see how he'd react. I wasn't expecting him to pay the check, though. Getting a sigh from both Jim and Barbara, he shrugs. Jason likes him. I don't want him to get hurt. That seems to get a chuckle from the girl as soon as she turns to grab her bag. It's getting late, though. I'll be heading out, too. Get home safe. As she turns and leaves, both Bruce and Jim stand as well, pushing their chairs in as they walk to the door, not far behind her. Bruce moves to hold the door open for her, getting a nod and thanks before she goes. Giving a handshake to Jim when they turn to leave themselves, Bruce starts down where he knows the car is waiting. Slipping his phone out of his pocket, he starts to text as he walks. Bruce, Peter's nice. Seen at 10:45 p.m. Jason, what did you do? Bruce, he joined Barbara, Jim, and I for dinner at the diner. Didn't even let me pay for it. Seen at 10:46 p.m. Jason, lol. Bruce, he has a picture of Red Hood eating a chili dog on a roof. Seen at 10:46 p.m. Jason, What? Smiling at the text, he decides to talk to him when he gets back to the manor. Or in the next few days, depending on when he's there next. Stepping into the car, Bruce starts it before driving off towards the manor. Walking into the tall building, Peter makes his way towards the front desk to check in. Hi, I'm here for the scholarship exam. Name? The lady says, not looking up from her computer. Parker. Peter. Peter Parker. Right. Second door on the left. Show them your ID when you get there, and they'll tell you the rest. She points to the hall on her left. Giving a small nod and thanks, Peter makes his way down the hall and to the testing spot. Seeing a table set up outside the door, Peter pulls out his ID and walks up to the man sitting at it. Hi, I'm here for the test. Oh! Peter stops at the table, hand still out, ID and all. Hey Peter, fancy running into you here. You taking the test? Duke says, gently taking the ID out of Peter's hand. Checking the box next to his name on the sheet, Duke tells Peter he's all set. Saying a quick goodbye and getting a good luck back, Peter moves into the room to an open desk. Soon, an older lady walks in, dressed in a pencil skirt and blouse, her heels clicking as she walks to the front. She sets down a stack of papers and a box of pencils before speaking. Today, you will be taking the scholarship exam. It covers all core subjects as well as a few other topics in different fields. Your main concern is the core questions. The extra questions are just there to get a better understanding of your strengths and weaknesses. As she talks, she starts to hand out the test papers and pencils. For the math portion, there will not be a calculator provided. If you have brought one that conforms to the test-taking criteria, then you may use it. There is a box on the front if you are not using one. Please check it as such. Please show your work as well. You may begin. As she says that, the people around Peter start to open up their packets, and quite a few pulled out calculators. Opening his packet, he marks the box next to No Calc and starts on the English questions. After 2 hours, standing with a stretch, Peter grabs a stack of papers and pencil and makes his way to the now sitting test proctor. Setting them on the table in front of her, Peter gives a nod and makes his way out. Looking over at the table still out in front of the door, Peter sees that Tim has joined Duke in waiting. Hey! Peter waves, looking up at him. It takes Peter a moment before he gets a response from either men. Duke having fallen asleep and Tim looking at his phone. Oh shit. Hey Peter, didn't expect to see you here. How'd it go? Smiling, Tim almost dropped his phone, not having been expecting a conversation. His movement seemed to wake Duke, who snapped awake with a soft snort of air. I think it went well enough. Only time will tell. He finishes with a light chuckle. It's not like he can say that the test was probably one of the easiest things he'd done. It's not his fault this world is so far behind his. Definitely has nothing to do with Tony teaching him when he could, and nothing to do with the amount of time he'd spent in the library that held books that Dr. Banner wrote, or he helped write, or the probably college textbooks he found and read while waiting for Tony to finish a meeting so that they could go to the lab. Nope, nothing. Tim glances at Duke briefly before giving Peter a smile. That's good. I guess you'll find out next week. Duke nods along with Tim when his phone goes off. He quickly excuses himself to take it, and Peter uses the out while he can. He's tired, okay? I should get going myself. I'll see you tomorrow? Tim smiles and moves to say something when his phone starts to ring. Settling for a quick wave, he quickly answers it, stepping away from the door and the people taking the test. Walking out and away from the building, Peter starts back home, planning on eating on the way and going to bed early. Photo shoot is tomorrow, and he wanted to be ready. He actually just left, actually. He said, went well enough, and only time will tell. There's a short pause after Tim stopped talking before he gives a huff. Of course I'm gonna check to see how he did. Who do you take me for? Duke, having heard this, his own phone call ending, gives a laugh in which he quickly covers his mouth as to not distract the people still taking the exam. I gotta go, but you'll see him tomorrow, so you can just ask him then. Bye. Hanging up, Tim turns to give his well wishes to those now exiting the testing room, a thought running through his and Duke's head as they shared a look. tomorrow. The next day, Peter rolled off his couch bed and checked the time, making sure he had enough time for the shoot. He did, and moved to take a quick shower. Remembering to grab a jacket before heading out, Peter starts his short walk to the now familiar bus stop, running to catch said bus as it started to close its doors. Slipping into the closest open seat, Peter pulls his phone out and pulls up the directions. Hearing a small whine from behind him, Peter glances back discreetly, seeing a mother hush her daughter who is shaking, trying to rub her arms to warm up. Barely giving his jacket a glance, Peter turns around and slips it through the space between the seat and the window. The girl gives a small smile and slips the jacket on. Her mom, having turned to focus back on her phone, seemed to be none the wiser. Smiling and giving a small wave, Peter stands up to get off the bus, now at his stop, and starts following the directions on his phone. It takes a few minutes, but soon Peter finds himself in front of a tall building. Squaring his shoulders and taking a deep breath, he steps into the building as its mechanical doors slide open. Moving to the elevator and pressing for its desired floor, Peter gives his arm a slight rub. Jen was not kidding when she said it'd be cold in here. Stepping off and into the room at the soft beep, Peter makes his way to the small group standing around a man in a seat. As he walks up, Peter realizes that the man is Mr. Wayne. "Just in time, Peter. They were just finishing up with the makeup," he says as he stands, putting a hand on Peter's back to guide him towards the rest, mumbling a "nice save" to the younger man as they come up to the rest of the Wayne family and company. "Peter, hey!" shouts a vaguely familiar voice, who Peter now recognizes as Celine from the gala. Giving a smile, Peter waves as he joins the group. "Hey, Celine, right? How are you?" Peter asks, getting a nod and a "good" from the girl. Looking up a bit more, Peter makes eye contact with Jason. Smiling, Peter gives another little wave, missing the look shared between Dick and Celine, the shorter of the two giving a knowing smirk. Peter starts to ask if they know where the schedule is. Once Peter has the set list in his hands, he is directed to his spot. Soon after, he sees everyone filling out in formal wear. Starting off with Bruce, Peter directs him to stand on the small X on the floor. "Okay, can you take your watch off for a moment, Mr. Wayne? There is something I'd like to try, if you don't mind." As the older man starts to detach his watch, Peter quietly asks one of the makeup artists to stand behind Bruce and call for him when he gives a thumbs up as a signal. "Thank you. Can you put that back on? Thank you." Watching as he starts to rebuckle the metal, Peter gives the go-ahead, causing the man to look over his shoulder to the lady who called his name, attention divided between the watch and the artist. Letting time slow for him, Peter lets out a shallow breath as he finds the perfect moment to push down. As the lights go off and time seems to speed up again, Peter sucks in a breath of air. Looking at the image, Peter gives a grin before calling out, "I think we're good for this one, Mr. Wayne. Would you like to see it to check?" Getting a smile, Peter watches as the older man shakes his head. "I'm sure it's fine. We can go over them before we start the next set if you're worried." Nodding at the man's words, Peter motions both Tim and Duke forward. "Duke, could you put your elbow on Tim's shoulder? And Tim, could you cross your arms?" "Perfect." He watched the two quickly do as he asked. "Duke, could you cross your left foot over your right?" "Awesome." Seeing the tense smile on Duke's face, Peter thinks for a minute before trying a joke. What did Batman bring to the party?" "What?" came Duke's response. "Just ice." Peter finishes, getting a laugh from Duke and an actual chuckle from Tim. Using the opportunity, Peter repeats the same process as before as he snaps the photo, releasing the two from their poses to recover from their laughing fit, in Duke's case at least. Waving Barbara over, Peter sees her hesitate before he hears the whispered comments from behind him. "Why do they even bring her? She isn't even part of the family. Plus, how can you expect anyone to take a decent picture while she's in that wheelchair?" One lady said to another standing next to her, who nods and adds her own unwanted opinion. "It's probably because she's the commissioner's daughter." Smiling at Barbara and giving her an encouraging nod, he watches as she slowly makes her way over to the marked spot. Standing from his crouch, Peter lets his camera hang from his neck as he moves to grab the fake roses he'd seen on his way in. Grabbing the flowered arch, he brings it over and places it behind her and quickly moves to grab some more single flowers, weaving them through her chair and placing one behind her ear as he talks. "Ignore them. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm not trying to cover your chair or anything. I mean, I am, but not because of... He gets cut off by Barbara's laugh, stopping only to speak through her fit of giggles. It's okay, Peter. I know, thank you. Smiling, Peter makes his way back to his previous spot before crouching down again. Thinking about it for a moment, Peter raises his lens to his eye before speaking. Someone better tell Poison Ivy she's got some competition. The surprised laugh that came from Barbara was well worth it as Peter snaps a photo, her unrestrained smile giving the image more life than the practice one he'd seen earlier. Standing again, Peter moves the flowers back to where he found them before waving Damien over, who stands on the mark, waiting for his own pose. Can you untie and retie your tie over at the full-length mirror? Damien huffs, but does so anyway. Peter moves the mirror so it faced the other way before moving himself so that he could get a good angle for the photo. He snapped the photo as said boy, only partially, struggled with the tie in the mirror. Telling him that he had gotten it had not made the boy give up his endeavor. Chuckling, Peter moves to stand and in his line of sight. Getting a pause, Peter used the opportunity to help the boy. I'll show you a little tip my uncle showed me. He starts as he undoes the slight knot that had been forming. You have to strangle it, tie it up, and then bury it. A bit dark, but it helps you remember. Seeing the boy nodding along, Peter let him undo the tie and try it out himself. In only a few minutes, he had managed to tie it correctly, if only a bit crooked. Good job. With a bit more practice, you'll be able to do it with your eyes closed, Peter says with a smile, watching as Damien made his way back to the others. Peter waved Cass and Steph over, both of which quickly stepped out of the marker. Would you like to dance? Peter says, getting a confused look before Cass gently grabbed Steph's hand and dipped down into a bow, causing the blonde to let out a small laugh. Peter let them twirl around each other for a moment, when Cass held her hand over to Steph. Hands still connected, she twirled the blonde, snapping the photo as Steph's dress flared with the spin, both girls smiling as Peter watched them finish their footwork. He let them catch their breath before calling over Dick and Celine. They both met at the mark, and they waited for Peter to let them know what he'd like of them. Could you back up till your back is at the backdrop? Thank you. And then link arms with each other. Dick, could you put your free hand into your pocket and then walk towards the camera? Celine, could you flip your hair off your shoulder with your free hand? Thanks. Thank you. Watching as the two made their way down, and Peter smiles as he waits for the flip, snapping the photo as her hair reaches its peak. Giving the all clear, Peter waves over Jason. Once he's standing on the X, he waited for Peter to give him instructions. Thinking for a few moments, Peter finally said, Could you drop your hip? Move your leg out a little bit. And put your hands in your pockets. Awesome. As Peter angles himself, he adds on, and tilt your head up a bit. Thank you. Perfect. Jason gives a small smile, and as it starts to fall back into a neutral expression, Peter snaps the photo. Standing, once the picture is taken, Peter smiles and gives a nod to the group, who make their way to a nearby TV. Once closer, Peter sees there's a cord for him to connect the camera to. Plugging the wire in after turning on the TV, Peter navigates to the first image of the shoot, a clear picture of Bruce as he leans back slightly, adjusting his watch as he turns his head to respond to a voice off camera, mouth slightly open. Glancing over at the man, Peter sees a small smile. Do these seem good, or do you want to take them again? Peter says, trying not to wring his shirt in his hands, watching as the images continue to display. They're great, Peter. I say we're ready for the next set, the older man says, getting nods from the rest of the group. Okay, I'll bring in some props while you change, Peter says as he gives a slight shake, turning to grab said props. It really was cold in here. Blinking when he feels something bump into his arm, Peter turned to see Jason holding out the leather jacket he'd been wearing before they started. You seem cold. You can use it, Jason says, glancing away but holding out the jacket still. Peter smiled and grabbed the jacket, thanking the taller man as he slipped it on. Thank you, Peter starts, but stopped when he heard Tim call for Jason. You've been summoned. Jason laughs but turned to walk over to the changing room, pulling the curtain closed as he walked through. What the hell was that? Tim asks when Jason's fully inside. What do you mean? Jason asked as he slid his suit jacket off. Getting a grumble from the shorter man who continued. You gave your jacket to Peter! Giving a side glance as he unbuttoned his dress shirt, Jason shrugs before responding. So? Tim let out a strangled noise before responding. So? What do you mean, so? Last winter my jacket got stolen and you just laughed at me. I asked to borrow your jacket, which you weren't even using, and you said no. Jason grunts but doesn't say anything, so Tim now continues with the smirk. So why is Peter different? Shoving Tim away, Jason pulls the tank top over his head and walks out, trying not to let his faint blush be seen. It's not like that. He was cold, and Tim should suck it up, he thinks as he walks out from behind the curtain. Glancing up, Jason could see where Peter was crouched. Ouch. The jacket was a bit too big for him in size, but Jason noticed that it filled out a bit more in the arms. Jason paused, wiping his hand over his face as he tried to erase his glowing blush. Shit, it might be like that. Jason stands by Dick, and by proxy, Celine. Judging by the barely concealed, or unconcealed in Celine's case, knowing looks he was getting, Jason would, not be hearing the end of this for a while. Shut up, he mumbles out, causing Celine to cover a laugh and Dick to respond with, Didn't say anything. Jason only sends him a glare. Moving his focus back to Peter, Jason watched as he directed the Hellspawn to do 5 push-ups. As Damien pushed himself up, Peter quickly snapped the photo, letting the boy stand before giving him the all-clear. Peter then called Cass over. Is there any opinions on what pose you want? I'm afraid I don't know much about working out. Peter chuckled. Cass started to sign before stopping and attempting to speak, but she was stopped by Peter. Speaking as he signs, he starts again. It's okay, I know sign. Is there any pose you'd like to do? She smiles as she signs back, and Peter is quick to return it. Adjusting himself in his crouch and pulling up the lens to his face, he watched as she started to dance. Her leg twirled around as she added momentum to her spin. Snapping the photo, Peter watched as she finished with a slight huff. Giving a thumbs up, Peter watched as she made her way back to the rest of the group. Next is Tim and Duke, who posed with a dumbbell and a barbell. Duke made a show of lifting the barbell when he almost dropped it, but caught it before it moved too far to one side. Trading places with them, Barbara and Celine lifted kettlebells and balanced on yoga balls. The process continued as Dick and Bruce did a mock spar. Only a few punches were thrown, and Peter got a shot of Dick moving his head out of the way of Bruce's outstretched arm. Finally, Peter watched as Jason wrapped his hand and wrist in tape, moving to stand in front of a punching bag. He hit it a few times before pulling his arm back and striking it with more force. Peter waited for Jason to pull back from the bag to take the picture. Peter tried not to think about the heat in the back of his neck. Peter tells Jason that he got it and that he's free to go change. Soon after, they're all sat around the TV to see the pictures. Getting the approval from them, Peter moves on to set up the next scene. There was a large armchair next to a side table, a desk-like table with 2 chairs, a chess table, and a fake fireplace with tools next to it on a stand. There was also a small but nice-looking couch and a thin bookshelf sitting at the end of the area. Grabbing a few books, Peter handed them out to his desired targets, handing a thick book to Bruce as he asked the older man to sit in the large chair, and giving the smaller ones to Duke, Steph, and Cass as he directed 2 of them to the couch and 1 to a pillow in front of the fireplace. Would you mind reading those? And get comfortable. I'll be taking some other pictures while you read. Getting agreements, Peter sets Tim and Dick up for a game of chess after making sure they both knew how to play. Not quite sure what to have Jason and Damien do, Peter moved on to Celine. Could you grab the poker and move it along in the fireplace? She seemed to take a second before grabbing one of the tools off the stand and poking at the fireplace. Snapping the shot as she pokes a fake log, Peter lets her know he has it. He asks Barbara to type on a laptop he pulled out from somewhere. taking the picture once the light hits her glasses, is the way he hoped it would. Looking over his shoulder, Peter saw Bruce halfway through the book. He's still sitting straight, but he's starting to lean a bit more into the chair, his arm resting on the side as his other hand holds his head up. Slowly moving his lens up to his face, Peter takes the shot. The man, seemingly none the wiser, continues to read the book. Glancing to the side, Peter gave a quiet laugh when he saw Duke flipped around on the couch. His legs hung on the back while the rest of his body lay on the cushions, book hanging over his face. Steph's head is laying on his chest and her legs are draped over to the side, her own book laying open on her face. Getting it to a better position, Peter was quick to take the photo. Hearing the flip of a page, Peter looked over to see Cass, now with a small stack of books next to her. Dropping down a bit, Peter takes her picture. As Peter stands, he can hear the slightest teasing from the desk. Dick and Tim were in an intense game, and Peter pulled up his camera to his face again. Dick was sporting an evil grin at Tim's frustration over losing. Taking pity on the poor guy, Peter walked up behind him and watched Dick take his move. Check! Enhanced hearing or not, Peter couldn't mix the smugness in his voice. Before Tim could make his move, Peter took his rook and moved it across the uninterrupted path on the board. Checkmate, Peter says as he watches Dick's face fall, turning to walk towards Jason and Damien, ignoring Dick's squawk of, How? Jason gives him a smirk and Damien didn't seem interested, shoving his hands into his hoodie pocket. Peter had an idea of what he'd like for these shots, but he's not sure it's possible. Thinking for a moment, Peter stretched his senses out, covering the area around the building. Grinning as he finds what he's looking for, he excused himself with a shout of, Be right back! Over his shoulder. Jugging out the side door, Peter listened for the small heartbeats again. They were just down the alley he was standing in. Walking slowly as to not scare them, Peter gently moved to the opening of the box. Inside was an all-black cat with steel-gray eyes, with two small kittens. One in an all-white with bright blue eyes, and another that was all black save for a white strip on its head. Its striking green eyes stared back at Peter. Slowly placing his hand into the box, Peter let the larger of the cats sniff his hand, before licking it, the white kitten doing the same, whereas the black one bit him. Not that hard, more of a nibble. He pulled the white kitten out first, placing him, he discovered, into one of the jacket pockets, placing the other kitten in the parallel pocket. Another boy. Before gently pulling out their mama. Walking back into the building through the door he walked out of, he sees no one really moved. Could you sit down, Damien? On the rug. You're not allergic to cats, right? Damien can only shake his head as he sits down, gently accepting the larger cat Peter set in his lap. Peter soon asked Jason to do the same. Getting the all good, Peter carefully pulled the two kittens out of the pockets, handing them to Jason before moving to his spot in front of the two. As Damien pet the cat, a small smile pulled at his lips. Peter got the picture before turning to Jason as he tried to wrangle the two kittens. Holding back his laugh in favor of taking a picture, Peter watched as a kitten climbed its way onto Jason's shoulder while the other plays with the strings of his hoodie. I've got all the pictures if you wouldn't mind checking to make sure you like them. Peter picks up the black kitten as Jason carries the white one, Damien holding on to his own furry friend. Once everyone was around the TV, he could hear Damien speak with his father. Father, I am keeping her. He gets a sigh in return as Bruce just looks back at the TV. The boy smiles and starts to pet her while they give the green light. Damien turns to Peter before asking, What shall you name them? I shall name her Raven. If he noticed the look Dick gave him, Damien didn't show it. It took a moment before Peter fully registered the question. I'm not sure. I'm not the best at naming. He laughs, but knows it's true. Damien puffs his chest out before declaring he'd choose a name. He seems to think for a little bit, narrowing his eyes as he looks over the group, stopping when he reaches Jason. Giving a sly smirk, he looks back at Peter, who missed the glare Jason gave the boy. Jason, he says. What? Jason. That is their name. Seeing what was happening, Celine stepped in. He does look like Jason. All black with the white streak, green eyes too. She jumps up and tries to ruffle his hair, but ends up pushing his head down, letting out a small sorry as she landed. Blushing a bit, Peter nods before asking, "What about him?" Jason looks down at the kitten he was holding before shrugging and looking back at Peter. "You name him." Peter sighs before repeating how he sucks at names. "Just give it a try." Just give it a try. At his insistence, Peter stares at the white kitten for a bit before finally giving out a name. Webbs. Peter shrugs at Jason's confused look. "I will be happy to take Webbs if you do not wish to keep him, Todd," Damien says with a bit of excitement in his voice. "Nah, little dude's coming with me," Jason says, turning to put more distance between Webbs and Damien. Before anyone goes to any home, they need to go to the vet. Bruce is the one who breaks the little world they created. Looking at Peter, he adds, "Need a ride?" Welcome new people, because you hear me? Yeah, you can fucking hear that. I will re-record this intro. Oh, I gotta double check. I gotta reread this. I gotta reread this again. One more time. Peter clicks on in. You can tell I'm rusty at this. Clicking the screen moderate. Why can't I say monitoring? Getting a slobbery lick. Wait, fuck, I forgot to take my meds. I have been hydrated.
Landing, not leaving, landing. Another jet. And then a whole ass helicopter.
Hey, I got 20 minutes to finish this recording before I need to get my ass moving. Oops. Okay, here we go. What the fuck does a Jersey accent sound like? Give me a goddamn second.
Often become coffee and often. And notice that I use that T in the word often.
Maybe we don't. I am shit at accents. This recording's already 20 minutes long, and I haven't even gotten past the first scene! Holy fucking shit, how the hell did I say all of that in one take? Schools at Chips, the library. Schools at Chips! Turning himself, Teeter. Weird, I never realized how weird it is reading other people's writing out loud until I've started doing it. Oh no, I need to come up with a voice for Bruce. What am I doing? Recording right before a final exam. You don't need to smoke cigarettes to have a growly voice, because I have a growly voice, and I have never smoked shit in my life. My lungs aren't Swiss cheese, I swear, guys. He's not fucking better right now because he's in public, but he's not being a whole ass himbo Brucey right now because he's with people he's actually chill with. The fuck? Oh, what the fuck did I do for Gordon's voice? The fuck did I do for the commissioner's voice? This is my problem with coming up with voices on demand. I forget what voices I was doing. As the waitress brings, seemingly oblivious to Peter's confusion, Bruce asks if, it's so different. I can't. Why? Grabbing it carefully, Bruce looked. Let me get this right. Time to purposefully choke on my own spit. I actually just applied for a few scholarships and to take a test for one. I have a final exam. Why did I choose to record this so close to taking the goddamn exam? Wait a minute. Where did he get he was eating fries earlier. He ordered a sandwich with chips. Whose fries was he stealing? He ordered the turkey club with chips. Is he stealing Bruce's fries? Is he stealing Bruce's fries? Peter, were you stealing fries off of Bruce Wayne's plate? I gotta focus. I want to finish this scene before I have to leave. Oh, fuck. Jim's voice. That's impressive. Ah! For his voice, he sounds like an old man. I apologize if it sounds off as hell, but that's what you're getting. I have a final exam! Ah! When I'm back, I will have finished the final exam, and it will be approximately 3 hours later. It was not, in fact, 3 hours in between parts of the recording. It's more like 5, but that's besides the point. What the fuck is that sentence? Peter pulls out his ID and walks up to the main seat. Oh no. I need to do a Tim voice. This is... Ah! Oh my god. My brain hurts. Is that gonna get confusing? Maybe. But let the viewers be confused. I'm confused. Just ice. Justice. Just ice. Just ice. Just ice. He's all floaty. Look at the hair. It goes all floaty. It's wonderful. Hydrate. Thank you. The fuck do you mean it's almost 3 a.m.? Hey, no, you're not closed. You're minimized. There's a difference. I don't understand the way they... This was just from ACT prep. Guys. Grilled cheese. There's gonna be so much cut audio in this one. Holy crap. The focus ain't happening, guys. No wonder I've been struggling so much. This fic is in present tense. It's in present tense. No wonder I'm struggling. I have a hard enough time doing first person versus third person. The fuck makes you think I can handle present tense? I'm almost done. Guys. We've almost gotten to Cat Jason's introduction. We're almost there. I promise. I see it now. All of my problems. I see them. I dropped my microphone. I dropped my Peter's doing the letting, Steph and Cass are doing the breath catching, and Dick and Celine are being the called over. I should be recording. I'm so proud of you. No. This is why Jason Todd probably is not a fanfiction reader. You're getting some real authenticity with this photo shoot here, guys. I need to pronounce my R's. And like, he's very clearly not playing up his himbo act right now. If my Bruce is emoting too much positive, happy emotions, it's not my fault, I swear. When I said that my inner Miss Kuyak kept going absolutely feral, I fucking meant that. Miss Kuyak was my English teacher throughout all of high school. Recording. I'm still recording. Recording is gonna be like 2.5 hours long. Editing hell. No, look! Oh my god! I'm having a tizzy over them, guys. I am having a conniption. Like an annoying kid with a pencil just jabbing me right in the fucking shoulder. The heel spawn. I am causing problems. Give me a second. I'm getting the headband. I'm getting the Miss Kuyak headband. I am in my English teacher cosplay. The Oxford comma will be your salvation, guys. He pulls out from somewhere. Might as well be his ass. It's like the fries. It's the fries all over again, guys. Back to normal problems. Yay. I need to channel all of my privilege into one voice. I'm channeling my inner rich person. It's not working. I am the most important person in the room. Everyone else is peasants. Yeah, this recording, the other recording is 1 hour and 15 minutes. So it's like a 2 hour, it's a 3 hour and 15 minute long recording. Holy shit. This is also going to be my first video with this this is also my first video back with the new computer. The new computer, the new mic, the new PNG tuber, new whole setup. Everything's new. Literally nothing is the same except the fact that I'm still using OBS. That's like the only thing that's the same. That's literally the only thing that's the same.